everybody, welcome back to the channel today. So today I'm going to be talking about how to lose at Rise to War. Basically we always want to win at Rise to War. However, that's not always going to be possible. And these are just going to be 5 tips, or my 5 tips, on how to stay in the fight and how to be competitive when you're losing. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm also going to go ahead and show you a tip or a trick on a way to prevent people from sniping at tiles from you. Maybe you've paved and you've run out of stamina, or you're waiting for another commander to come up to be able to take it. So I'll give that to you at the end here, but let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So on this one, we're going to talk a little bit about resources and power. They don't really correlate, or at least they're not on a one-to-one. So if you take a look at it, let's just jump over down to a 200 of mine really quick. We'll come out here. Let's say you guys are fighting and you're getting, your territories are getting taken, and you're going back and forth or whatever. Your 200 tile is going to make you 200 power, and it's going to be giving you 1,000 wood an hour. Well, if you're losing and you're losing your 200 tiles, you can actually go over here to your 60 tile, which was going to give you 560, and you can replace that 200's production with 260s. And what that's going to do, that's going to leave your resources more or less the same, but actually go up a little bit, while your power is going to go down 80 points, or 80 an hour, and your food production will actually go up. And that way you can get down to, you can go from, let's say, 40,000 power down to 10 or 15,000 power, or even lower than that, and your food production, your resource production, shouldn't really change a whole lot. And what you're always going to want to do, you're always going to want to have a healer, like a Gandalf the Grey, or a low-level Arwen, somebody that's got good healing. You can send them off to the other side of the map and just be taking 60s and 90s, taking very little losses. And that's going to allow you to continue having the resources to continue to keep fighting. So that's that first tip on, and you can replace other tiles. You just take a look at it. Let's say you go up to a 230 tile. Your 230 tile is 1,200. And so you could take a look at, you just take a look at how many 130s. But usually those 130s are gone. So actually, let's not even look at the 130s. Let's see here. Generally, these are going to be, it's going to be a 60, right, usually. So, in order to replace 1,200, how many, it's going to be, if you get 3, you're going to be plus your production. You're going to replace more than what you lost on here. And so you might have, you might have a whole ton of, low-level tiles here. So if you look at it, I don't have that many tiles. I've got a lot of 60s, and 90s on it. We don't have that many 200 tiles. But we're able to continue staying in the fight because our resource production is still pretty good on it. Alright, so for the next tip, we're going to talk about defending a keep. On this keep, what you have is you have 40 level 40s, and I believe it's a 20 or 40 million health on it. So the goal here is what you want, as the enemy attacks, you want them to hit the defenders, because the defenders are going to regenerate every hour. You want their fighters to wear out their stamina and wear out their troops hitting those defenders. Once they've cleared out the defenders, once they've got a little bit into the health of the fortress, at that point, then you want to begin streaming your guys in. The reason is, your goal is to try to catch their siegers with your fighters. As you can see, there's just a ton of guys coming in here. You're not always going to be able to do that. But, if you wait till they've sieged it down a little bit, at that point, most of their fighters are going to have burned up their stamina, and they're going to be primarily using either weaker commanders, or the weaker players are going to be sending in their commanders. And so that's kind of the goal here, is to try to catch the siegers, because if you can destroy enough of their siegers and it survives the hour, there's a really great chance that they're not going to be able to redo that in an hour. They may have to wait a day or 2 days to rebuild that strength up, and that kind of gives you time to rebuild. And so if you're able to sit a little ways off from that fort, maybe across the river or on the other side of a natural barrier of some kind where they can't get over to you, you can just let your fighters sit there. And then the other tip would be is if you have allies that you're not in a unified faction with, they can go in and hit that fort and restart that timer again. They could probably only do it once until the other side, takes out, kicks them out, but they have that hour, and so they have to wait for that hour to go by. Hopefully you have people leave, people fall off, and not be there anymore. So there's that tip on how to defend a keep. Next tip, when you're losing, you really need to save troops. So if you look down here, right now, the events are, we own the Dol Guldur, so what we're doing is, in order to develop it, we've got to sweep 5 mobs around here. Now, the commander I have doing down here, doing these events, is Radagast the Brown, because he gives us the extra 5 development points, which is nice, but he's 11, and he's got a 50 tier 1 cav. And what kind of armor does Radagast have? Let's take a look here really quick. Radagast, where are you at? He's got a bunch of armor, and he's never fought anything, and none of his points are distributed. There's that. So they want us to sweep 5 mobs. So if we come down here and look at some of the mobs in the area, we got level 40, level 40, level 40. Oh look, here's a 35. Oh nope, 40. I'm trying to see if there's a 35. But basically, he's not going to be able to take any of those mobs. So what you can do is, if you look right here, we have a fortress. So I'm going to go move here. I'm going to say, let's send, where's Radagast? Here he is. Go Radagast. There you go. All right, so here goes Radagast. All right, he doesn't even need to leave. We'll just send him back. Okay, now we go in and look at it. Look, there's some errands. We've switched it. We still have our 5 attempts. And so I can send the lowest commander down here, and I can just do that until I get one that he can do without me having to expend troops on it. So I can go ahead and accept it, and boom. And that's at the end. If I get another one where I'm sweeping mobs, just go here. And you can pick any fort, as long as he leaves the castle, and then you send him back, and then, you recall him, then, it's going to reset it. And you don't need to use up any of your claiming attempts on doing that, rather than saying switch or cycle or whatever it is. So, alright, so that's that for that tip. We'll move on to the next one here. Alright, guys, so I wanted to kind of show you something. When you're looking after, like, we just took this keep, and you can see all these things that are on fire. They say, in conflict, 2 hours, 34 minutes. Now, we just took the keep. So if you look at it, it says protection, 54 minutes, and then in conflict for basically 5 hours. The nice thing about the in conflict thing means that the siege, close that down, the siege restrictions don't apply. So normally, if you're sieging an enemy keep, unless you have your war on, you've declared war, then it's going to be minus, I think, 70% siege damage. The reason that in conflict matters is because, in theory, this other team could get together in the next couple hours, within the next 5 hours, and attack. And even though they don't control the territory anymore, because it's still in conflict, they would still have 100% siege damage, which will allow them to retake the keep, in theory. Whether they're able to do that is another thing. But, it's just an interesting point that if you lose a keep and it's in conflict, well, then you could potentially get together and retake it. So another tip to kind of consider, especially if you're losing keeps. All right, so let's say you just battled somebody, you just PvP'd, and now your commander is not quite 100% full. You're 40 out of 75. Now, if you were to get attacked, more than likely you would lose. And so if you wanted to reinforce your guy, let's take a look. In order to reinforce him, if you want to bring him back up, you'd be looking at 33 minutes and 36 seconds. So during that time, you just really have to hope that nobody attacks you. Now, alternatively, you could go back to your base. You could move somewhere else. You could jump to a different tile further away to avoid being attacked. But a way to reduce the amount of troops you'd lose if you get attacked is you bring all these down to 50 or 100 units, and then you put them back up. Still same amount, 33 seconds, or 33 minutes, 36 seconds. But now, if you get attacked, the max you would lose is 3 units. So if you stuck around this whole video, thank you. These have been my 5 tips on how to, what you need to be doing if you're losing at Rise to War. I did tell you I was going to give you one other tip about a holding march, how to prevent someone from sniping. And basically what it is, it's a holding march. So if you've tiled up to say this tile, I say a 300 tile, and you're waiting for your other commanders to come up, what you can do is you can go back and you can set, a commander with say 50 dwarves on it, marching towards that tile. That will show everybody that you're marching towards it, and that's going to discourage other people from going forward. Hopefully, because it'll take them, anywhere from 40 minutes, 20 to 40 minutes, depending on how far away you are from it, you'll be able to bring your commander up within that time period, and make the hit on the tile before anyone else can bring their commanders up. So that's been my 5 tips plus the way to prevent people from sniping tiles from you. Let me know in the comments below which commander you're using currently for your PvP and what kind of combos you're using with that commander. Like and subscribe. I do Linux and I do Rise to War. Maybe be adding some other stuff. We'll see as it goes on.